So now that we finished with our multiple angle identities, our double angle, we came up with a triple angle, and we looked at quadruple angle, we want to look at half angle formulas. So in other words, I'm going to find exactly half of an angle. And with these formulas, they look pretty complex with these square roots. But really there's two things you want to know about these. The first thing is that plus or minus that you see in front, it's only going to be one or the other. So you're going to look at your equation and say, okay, if I have a sign and I'm in the second quadrant, is sign positive or negative? And in the second quadrant, sign is positive, so I'd only choose the positive version. So this plus or minus that you see in the front, it's only going to be one answer based off of what quadrant your u over 2 lies. The second thing I want you to realize, and this is probably the more important thing, is that we're going to have to double our values that we're given. So what I mean by that, why this isn't a straight substitution, if I am saying u over 2 is what I'm looking for, that means that u is equal to 2 times the value. So if I'm giving you what u over 2 is, to solve for u, I would have to multiply both sides by 2 times the value. So hypothetically, if I'm starting with, let's say, 80. Okay. So that means u over 2 is going to equal 80. What does u equal? U is going to be 160, which is what the inside of my equations ask for. So as we work through this, we have to realize what u over 2 is and what u is. The other piece that's a little tricky about these problems is all the algebra that's inside of square roots. But really, surviving college algebra, you should be okay with this. And let's see what we can do. So finding the exact value of the cosine of 165. I'm telling you right here that 165 is equal to u over 2 because I want to find the cosine of 165. So that means u is going to be 330. That's what I'm going to plug inside my equation, 330. So since I want the cosine of 165, I'm going to use this equation. Now, 165 is in the second quadrant, and we know cosine is negative in the second quadrant. So when I write this out, it's going to be the negative version. So here, the cosine of u over 2 is going to be negative square root of 1 plus the cosine of u over 2. We know that u is going to be 330. So the cosine of 330 over 2 equals negative square root 1 plus the cosine of 330 over 2. And the left-hand side simplifies down to 165. We knew that's what I was looking for, the cosine of 165. The inside, cosine of 330, we know is square root of 3 over 2. So now my square root looks like this. 1 plus square root of 3 over 2 all over 2. And at this point, now it's just algebra. I'm going to do everything inside of this square root. I'm going to start with the numerator piece. 1 plus square root of 3 over 2, I need to find a common denominator. So if I'm going to find a common denominator in this numerator piece, it's going to be 2. So it means I need a 2 in this denominator underneath the 1, which means I also have to multiply the numerator by 2. So 2 plus square root of 3 over 2 is my combined fraction in the numerator. And then in my denominator, this is the same thing as 2 over 1. Now I can't do direct canceling there because I don't have a 2 in the denominator down here. So I've got to multiply by 1/2. So then all that cancels out. So now I've got negative, and then underneath the square root, 2 plus square root of 3 over 2 times 1/2. Which is really the negative still in front. 2 plus the square root of 3 over 4. And then to simplify, we'll break it into separate square roots. So negative square root of the numerator is 2 plus the square root of 3. And then in the denominator, the square root of 4 is just 2. So there's my expression, and I wanted the exact value. So there's my exact value. Example number 2, finding the exact value of the tangent of 105. So since I wanted to find 105, u is going to be 210. So our tangent formula, we've got two different options right here. I'm just going to choose the first one, 1 minus the cosine of u over the sine of u. So the tangent of u over 2 is equal to 1 minus the cosine of u over the sine of u. Tangent of 210 over 2 is 1 minus the cosine of 210 over the sine of 210. So the tangent of 105, the cosine of 210 is on the unit circle, as is the sine of 210. So 1 minus square root of 3 over 2. Cosine of 210 is square root of 3 over 2, and it's actually negative. So it's 1 minus a negative square root of 3 over 2. The sine of 210 being in the third quadrant means sine is going to be negative. It's going to be a negative 1/2. So in my numerator, I actually have 1 plus square root of 3 over 2 over a negative 1/2. Finding a common denominator in this numerator is going to once again be 2 square root of 3 over 2 all over a negative 1/2. Here my 2's do cancel. They're both in denominators. So I end up with 2 plus square root of 3 over a negative 1, which ends up just being negative 2 minus the square root of 3.